Once England's national lockdown ends, London enters Tier 2, Manchester Tier 3, Liverpool Tier 2, yet Newcastle Tier 3. But a revolt is now brewing among Conservative MPs over this tale of two tiers.
I find it impossible to justify inflicting these harsh restrictions on my own constituents who have borne so much over a period of 8 months.
But on a visit to a lab today, their leader insisted it's the only way to avoid a winter of despair.
If you did it any other way, first of all, you'd divide the country up into loads and loads of very complicated subdivisions. There's got to be some simplicity and some clarity.
So from next Wednesday, this is how England's new restrictions break down. The decision to put an area into red Tier 3, amber Tier 2 or yellow Tier 1 has been made using several criteria, including the number of cases of COVID locally and how the hospitals are coping. The town of Slough has found itself a red Tier 3 dot in a sea of amber. For the local football team, Slough Town, that means even more matches will have to be played to empty stands.
We have a little bit of money in the bank, but nothing that's going to keep us going to the end of the season. So, we could survive very, very short term, but without funding or fans, there's no future. We couldn't continue.
The case rate here is double that of the surrounding area, but even so, this local Labour MP says Slough is being treated unfairly.
What we needed was some fairness, clarity and transparency. Instead, we've got confusion and mixed messaging. We were advised that it would be based on a regional approach. If that was the case, why has Slough been segregated from its wider region? Why are there areas, for example, in nearby London, with higher case numbers, and yet they are in the lower tier?
However, all those we spoke to in the town centre today understood the government's decision.
We've been doing it all year, so I don't know, it don't really affect me that much. I'm not really concerned, to be honest.
It's still high, so they might as well close it until it drops down.
If it's about listening to what the government is saying or what the politicians are saying, then we need to listen.
It's better to just stay home and save their lives.
Labour will decide next week whether to join rebelling Tory MPs to try to throw out the regulations. But even if the government pushes them through, this backlash from its own MPs has undermined faith in the new system.
And Catherine, we saw there in your report that people are broadly supportive of tougher measures. It's not the view everywhere, though, is it?
Indeed, I think there are a couple of things at play here. First of all, what you might call geographical anomalies. So those Tory rebel MPs in Kent feel they're representing constituents who perhaps live in a town with a lower level of infection, who feel they have been unfairly lumped in with areas that aren't faring as well. And then they look to neighbouring East London, which has high rates of infection and yet has benefited from being put in with the rest of the capital. Overlaying that, of course, are individual issues. If your livelihood is on the line because of the tier you've been put in, you may support these rebels, but what about the nurses and doctors who all say they are just as adamant that you must stick to the rules and indeed go beyond them?